poppin', Yanko?
What's
Almost
up?
there.
What's up? What's
I
up?
am feeling spicy today. What about you?
I am feeling magical, and I feel like I can bring all the magical dust into our show today. Welcome, everyone. We're on episode 63 for no particular reason. And
For
you're with
a
me,
reason.
Yanko, and my wonderful co host, Kerri Lewis.
What's popping, guys? No, I was just telling Yanko I'm feeling really spicy today. So we're going to see how this episode unfolds. And
Bring it
also, if
on.
anybody's watching and wants to join us live, let us know because we're always down for unexpected guests and good conversation. Faux show.
That's right. That's right. And as a reminder, this show airs every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 Eastern, and 7 a.m. Pacific. And we'd like to interact with you and make it more enjoyable and maybe bring up some value to you guys. So come chat with you, vibe, and so on.
Yeah,
That's
buddy,
right.
I'm still fighting with Instagram. I think today might be a no Instagram day, which is fine. Um, Yeah, so what's going on in your world, Yanko? Because I can talk for days, but I want to hear what's on your heart.
I don't know. I'm just going with the flow lately. I'm just kind of allowing things to happen. And the more I go back into the head kind of space and I think about it and I go like, there's nothing to think about. Life it's happening for me. Either I like it or not. Either I categorize it and say, oh, this is good or oh, this is bad. It's a one big happening. So I'm just more of like, eh, let's see what we're bringing next.
Okay,
you know
I can feel that. Well, like, whew. So you know what? I love allergy season. Do you know what? In the past, I
Ooh.
really loved allergy season. Now I
Whoa.
don't really so much. But I love allergy season because if I've had
Mhm.
a messy morning of crying and being sloppy to heal, when I see people later, I could be like, oh man, my allergies are really beating my ass. Now I don't care. I keep it 100, but I think back to how many days I was in, like, the corporate setting or working with people, and they'd be like, man, your eyes are puffy. I'm like, I know them damn allergies. I couldn't get away with that as much you know?
I won't even say that I have to get away with anything like that. I would just go with whatever. You know, if I'm feeling like my eyes are watering because of and most of the time, and that doesn't happen all the time with me, but a lot of the times I'm in a moment when I'm just so appreciating the moment that there's so much joy that I can't hold it in. The body
Yeah.
starts to cry, and it just happens, and it's hard to put words to it and explain it to somebody. But if I'm with my wife or somebody else, like I can be in the middle of the store. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I'm shopping for popcorn and I'm listening to this tune that brings me up to like this great joy. I can't even explain it. And there's people going in the aisle back and forth, and my eyes are watering, and I'm thinking, hey, this is it. Like, I don't care if you think I'm weird or not. Like, I'm enjoying the moment. So, yeah,
Well, and I mean, I think that is a gift we give ourselves when we really learn to honor ourselves, but it's a practice. And I know, I can only speak for me. It's a practice that's taken me, you know, 40 years to cultivate and feel confident in being the messiness that I am in any given moment because life when you're in flow isn't all roses. It's very messy at times.
it is. You're not wrong about that. Life, it has ups and downs, and I'm starting to have more appreciations for the change because it gives me that ability to appreciate the good and the bad, not only looking for the bad or the good, but just kind of appreciating them both equally, because I know that when I'm down, it doesn't last long, and it's something that just comes and goes to give me that perspective, to put
Yeah.
that, you know, um, almost like space in between the one experience with the other experience, so that I can appreciate them both equally. And so I just go like, and this shall pass.
This too shall pass.
So yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
but
matter if it's good or bad. Like, if it's good, we tend to hang on to this good experience, and you're like, oh, this is so good. I want this never to end. But this shall pass as well, you know. And then the bad comes in, oh crappy, like I don't want that. But then that comes in, is like, oh, this shall pass, and it just keeps on going and flipping and flopping, and it's going like life is
well,
cyclical. That's how it is.
I personally feel that we have these opportunities to heal um, areas of our subconscious or release trapped energy that we might not
Oh
be
yeah,
aware
100%.
exists
Yeah.
until it presents itself. So, real talk, guys, I'm going to give you like the way it is I process stuff and what went down. My twin sister and I were talking yesterday. And for those of you don't know, so I'm a product of rape. And so when you have that experience as a little kid, my parents did the best they could. They're amazing people. I love them immensely, but you're kind of disassociated a little bit, or at least that was my experience. And so, as a very, very, very little kid, I grew up with this belief that I was unwanted. And I really didn't have that experience of connection. And so I made stories up in my head, which I'm not always aware of. So, anyway, fast forward yesterday, my sister and I were talking about witnessing two young kids that we love very much having a similar experience right now because their parents, while doing the best they can, aren't don't have the emotional capability to be present all the time. And holy crap, what would I thought have been just a conversation that my sister and I were having brought me to my knees until, I mean, I woke up this morning really, really, really upset. And I realized in honoring that, not judging it, not making it about these kids or these other people or my parents, that I had a story that was still really deeply seated that was causing me to have this visceral emotional response, like a very turbulent response. I'm talking about rage, um, fear, like all of the emotions. And instead of running from it, I just sat and honored it. And I mean, I know I did, I released energy that was probably existing in my body since I was that little kid that made up that story, and each of us are different. So we all have different ways to release energy, but I burp up pockets of air. And that's what happened for me. Like, as I sat in it and I journaled and I went outside and I fed the birds and I just honored the messiness that I was in, I know that I was releasing an experience that I wouldn't have otherwise known if yesterday we didn't have that conversation, if I didn't honor my emotions and then I just allowed myself to move through them.
That's right. Everything brings you to um, different kind of experience. I won't say a next step, but it's just getting to the space, because going back to it being energetic beings, we're energetic beings, and we send those waves out saying, this is what I have in me, and I want this to kind of balance itself. And so we're attracting this to come back and to trigger those so they can come in and get balanced. Um, so yeah. And I was gonna say, how do you how do you let go? You usually, for me, it's different. I don't, it's more of a dissociative thing now, and I'm not claiming whatever experience happens to me, because I know I'm not this body and I'm not this mind, and I know I'm not the emotions that are happening because they're just happenings.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
for
mean,
me,
here's
when yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say when that happens, I don't claim it and I don't go to dig and do it. I just kind of sit and observe and just sit with it, and it just goes like how I started our conversation. This shall pass as well. It comes in. I sit with it. I make peace with it, whatever it is, and that's it. And it usually never comes back because I honor that moment of whatever that feeling, emotion, or whatever that is. And I don't try to change it by any kind of means or suppress it or twist it in a way that will be acceptable for me or not. I just kind of sit and, it is what it is. And that's how I usually do it.
I mean, I think that it just depends. There are times when I'm driven by ego and I try to make sense of the experience I'm having. I believe that we all still operate a little bit from that experience. Otherwise, we'd sit and bliss our whole lives.
Hmm.
Um, but to your point, I really work to not attach another story to the experience. I may be like, wow, like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
wild shit going on. Um,
Yeah.
but then I honor it. Like for me, today I was called to journal. I went out and put my feet against the dew covered grass. I watched the birds. I sat by a bush and watched all these random bugs, present, which interestingly enough, I had to laugh because, right, the pervasive feeling that I had when I was very little was I was alone. And so I went and I was standing by this bush and this single bug appeared. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. All of a sudden, like a swarm of bugs showed up. I'm like, that's funny, universe. I see what you're doing right there. Tell me you were never alone. But really just doing what feels right. And then, what do I need to do to ground myself in the present? And I'll be honest, like I still feel pretty spicy. Like there's turmoil within my internal experience right now, but I honor it. I'm not trying to change it. And my gift is speaking into this world what I'm experiencing because I think that that's a really important um truth that I can give to people is sharing my experience allows them to potentially give themselves permission to honor their own experience and not judge it good or bad, right or wrong. It just is what it is. And also, I also believe we have a responsibility as individuals who serve others to share the whole of us, not just a pretty put together, having fun at Kendrick, being, in this amazing relationship with Nana. We have a responsibility to be like, yeah, it gets messy for me often. And this is what I do to honor that and not just present as being put together because none of us are.
You 100%. And and this is the beauty of life. Everything keeps on going, and if you think about it logically, I know I went that road. Like it it makes no it makes no sense. It is what it is. You can't put words to whatever it's happening. We like to narrate it inside our heads and call it things for references and other things, and yeah. But
Well, it's so
if
funny because I keep thinking of Saint John. Shout out Saint John. I love him as an artist, and he has this song popping, and it's rage, hood, bitch. I'm popping, I'm popping, and I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling right now. I'm popping. I'm like, woo! Let me pop off and show somebody, as my amazing dear friend Kendrick Lamar says. But no, seriously, like it when we just honor where we're at in the present moment, that to me is the ultimate um self-love. That's it. Just giving myself the experience to be in this moment and then being able to put words to it. So hopefully that my experience can impress upon another individual whatever it is they need to take away from it. That's it.
It will. And as we go even back in times, people got around fires and things, and they share stories and they share their experiences, and that's how everyone get curious about the world around them,
Yeah.
and understood it, and they knew from like storytelling back then, because when we're tribal communities, you'll have the older people that'll say, if you see a snake, run, don't go poke the snake or the bear or whatever. So it kind of is like you were saying it. We share our stories, and that's all we can do. And perhaps will inspire somebody to think about it, and when they're going through something like we're going through, they'll have that, oh, okay, I'm not alone. It happens to other people too. Like
Yeah.
I've heard it on this show, or I've seen it there and this, and then that's okay. So I don't have to freak out.
Well, it's so funny. I'm going to pivot completely because
Oh, go ahead.
in
This I love this.
terms of showing up in service, right? Yesterday, I see this is why I love the universe, right? Because so my intention every morning for the listening audience is my intention is to be present in love, to come from a place of love, to be open to receiving love, and to laugh often. That's it. Really like basic, because that's very broad and it opens me up to all of the experiences that love has to offer. So fast forward, my brother needed me to pick him up last night, and so I get in my brother-in-law's car, and I look down, and he had a empty package of Reese's Pieces. I'm like, oh, Reese's Pieces! I want me some Reese's Pieces. And then I go in that, well, you don't need Reese's Pieces to take. Anyway, I pick up my brother, and I'm driving by the store, and I'm like, I'm gonna go get me some Reese's Pieces.
There you
So
go.
I I'm up at the counter, and this is why I love the universe, right? So I'm up at the counter and I'm listening to this girl who always waits on me because it's my typical convenience store. Telling the individual she's waiting on that she doesn't know why she continues to be joyful and nice to people when nobody responds back to her. And I couldn't help it. I'm like, let me just tell you, beautiful thing. I was like, quantum science proves that no act of love is ever wasted. That's an energetic expression that goes out and it matters. I was like, so don't concern yourself with how people respond to your love, to what you give to the world. Just do what feels right for you. And in that, right, like you're presenting love to the world. So then the guy turns around, he's like, really? So if I give you my money, by extension that will come back to me. I was like, well, yeah, technically. So he hands me his change, which buys my Reese's Pieces, and I get in the car and I look at my brother and I was like, I just freaking love the freaking universe, because you can't make that up. My intention is to extend love by me just being called to eat Reese's Pieces because I saw an empty package. I go in the store and I was able to extend a story, information that impacted a very young woman. She's probably early 20s, if that. And this gentleman who then returned that love back to me and helped me pay for my Reese's Pieces.
It's wonderful how that works. And you have to have one of those experiences to be able to appreciate it. And the more you have that kind of experiences, the more you realize that you're living in an abundant universe when everything is provided for you all the time. All you have to do is be yourself.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't matter what you need in that moment. Like the things that you need, they're always around, and you have abundance of them. The problem is that most people are conditioned to think that they need something more, or they need something else, and that's where the problem starts. Like
And it's so funny because I have this card that I pulled for myself today. What is yours will come to you when you aren't trying to push the river. Which, for me, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, that's our overthinking mind. We really believe that we can think ourselves into, we can work ourselves into, we can force ourselves into
Yep.
the experiences we want. And it's the complete opposite. And look, in all transparency, people, I still do it all the time. And then I'm just like, ugh. And I give myself grace because I know it's a habit. It is a habit that I have. It's one I've had for 40 something years. And so I give myself permission to recognize it and release it all the time. But nonetheless, I also know that in that behavior, I'm not going to achieve the results I want because I'm trying to force something that isn't in flow for me. But when I just let it go and I'm in flow, everything kind of just works out seamlessly. Like going back to the experience yesterday, my brother lives in a lot of fear. I mean, a lot, like entrenched in fear. And because of that, I was able to look at him and share that experience. And of course, he didn't really respond, but I just planted another seed that maybe gives him the ability to consider a different perspective, to recognize that rather than trying to control outcomes or be fearful of the narratives that we are, experiencing in this world right now, we can ground in love, and that is our superpower.
Yeah. I wanted to interject for a little bit when you're saying always, and it's not always because you just said it. You had a different experience. It wasn't always. You have those from time to time. And
True.
when you put your mind to it, if you put your mind on the always, that'll be the case. But if you find those little bits of gold there and here, and you put your concentration on that, that'll bring more. In yeah, that's the other thing that
Yeah,
happens a
and that's a
lot.
really great point, and I appreciate you pointing it out because again, language is
That's
power.
right.
And yes, it's again, we are a product of habit. Like, and so if we're not open to being called out on that habit, how can we be open to making a different choice? And so thank you. I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
And on another topic, again, because today I'm bouncing.
uh, it is a perfect example. I didn't do it on purpose to um, I don't know. Usually, I catch that happens to me a lot when I'm
Of course.
overgeneralizing and I'm saying, "Oh, it's always happening to me," or "Oh, it's always this," or "It never." That's the other one. Oh, it never goes this way. Never. Like really? It never happens. And I got caught up the other day. I was working with somebody, and he did exactly that thing. Um, we were doing something, and we're talking about somebody else, and I said, "Oh, this person didn't help me," and I said something along the lines of overgeneralizing and saying, "Oh, he never does this or whatever." And then that person I was talking to said, "Really? They didn't help you? They didn't do nothing for you?" And I said, "Yeah." And then I stopped for a second and I said, "Well, wait a minute. They actually did something, but it wasn't what I expected." So I went and neglected the whole thing and I said, "Wow, they never did what they're supposed to do," because I had expectations. I was expecting to have something done in a certain way when I was communicating with that person. And it was kind of the same thing. They pointed out and they're like, "Yeah." And then I went back and I said, "Well, thank you so much. You're right. They did help me, but it wasn't the way I expecting it. So that was wrong of me." So there you go. Overgeneralizing.
I just think that we're all each other's miracles, right? And again, even now, there are moments when my natural inclination is to get defensive because my understanding internally is that I go like to fight or flight, like I need to protect myself. But my ability to ground in the present moment and stay curious and even watch it gives me the ability to respond differently and
That's right.
recognize that everything is a gift. It really is. Nothing is happening by circumstance, and it is an opportunity to just be open and learn even more about oneself, because we're all mirror reflections back to each other. We just simply are, you know. I am the mirror reflection of somebody who's struggling in deep depression, and the mirror reflection of somebody who's in high vibrational love. We all have the whole of the human experience within our um experience. It's just that for me, I cultivate more experiences that are joyful, you know. And but it also begs to say, if I don't honor my emotions this morning when something comes up for me, it would be more difficult, I think, for me to experience more moments of joy, because I would have so much trapped energy that it would be hard for me to recognize or be present to the joy that was in the bugs flying around, the taste of my coffee, having this conversation.
Yeah, everything helps you to balance and experience yourself. Um,
Yeah.
and this is a thing that happens because when you go back to the oneness, there's nothing happening there. It's the oneness, you full, whole, and complete. There's no need for anything to happen. And then the more you separate from the oneness, then the whole experiences are starting to happen. And you have all those different experiences that you experience of joy, pain, anger, love, excitement, in different things, because you're going
Yeah.
back and forth almost, you know, swinging the one way and swinging the other way. And this kind of brings you back to the reminder of who you are. And when you realize it, that, without that experience, there's not going to be an experience or experience, then you have so much more appreciation for everything, because you understand that this is a miracle that it's happening, and you're in the midst of it. It doesn't get any better than that. Like you were saying with the
Mm.
bugs, you know, what can be anything better than that, where you're sitting and you're just in peace with yourself and everything is kind of like full of life around you, reminding you of who you are. I I can only imagine what that'll feel like.
Well, you know what's so funny, that that leads me to something that came up with somebody I was working with earlier this week, whose commitment to themselves is to do one act of self-care, not endless
Mhm.
acts. And so this individual was like, my struggle is to remain focused on the one act. And I was like, well, let me ask you this. Do you experience peace in having performed that one act? Yeah. This individual said yes. So why do you need to do more? And that's the ego. That's the trickery. It's we expect I was out there enjoying the bugs, and then ego, oh, you need to go ground. You need to no,
No,
I'm in
that's
peace.
right.
Why do I have to do
You don't need
it?
to.
You don't even do anything. Now, granted, if I do have a myriad of self-care practices. So if the first one doesn't ground me, or I'm not able to lean into that piece, I can lean into another one until I experience the peace. But the whole idea of self-care, or like awareness, is simply to get back to that peace. Once you're in it, you don't have to do anything. Like, there's nothing to be done. But so often we think we need to do the next thing. And that's when self-care no longer becomes self-care. It becomes another task to check off on your to-do list. And I think that's really important for people to understand.
Yep. Yep. 100%. I mean, whatever way you go back to yourself and find out who you are, you connect with yourself, whatever that is for you, because in different stages of your growth and experience, you'll have different ideas of self. Self and
Yeah.
other totally change. I'm thinking of Ramdas. He's so funny. He
Oh
cracks me
yeah,
up every time he says, but look, the game changes. This is a whole nother game when you look at it from that perspective. And I'm like, yeah, it is a whole nother game. Everything changes and you start over again. You're like, huh, this is kind of nice, you know?
well, I mean, it's interesting you say that from a perspective point of view because Nana and I had Lanita on our show yesterday, and it's all about joy. And that's the thing is, we can have the same experience and cultivate an insane amount of joy from it, or we can have the experience and cultivate suffering. And it really is, to Ram Dass's point, how you play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's how you play the game. But on another note, because I'm just feeling like I need to jump around today, I was at my daughter's National Honor Society induction. Both my girls are in it. And, that's something that's important to them. And so I honor them. But then I watched an individual come up and impart information on all of these kids about the importance of being stressed out and how eventually it's worth it. And one of my daughters, who is a little bit more broad minded, was looking at me from the stage and she saw my face. And so we just started laughing. And my other daughter was quite upset with me because everybody on stage saw me laughing. And I'm just like, what in the actual hell is happening right now that we are continuously feeding this narrative that in order to achieve, we need to be stressed out and doing. And when you look at, again, I'm just taking this community I'm in, right? Because I'm entrenched in mental health of this community. We have high rates of suicidal ideation, high rates of addiction and mental health struggles, high rates of generational trauma, sexual abuse. And we still hear this narrative that you need to do more, perform more, be more in order to achieve, be worthy, be enough. And I wanted to vomit in my mouth, no joke.
I mean, that brings me back to what I was saying earlier. You're programmed to think that you're not enough and you need something else to complete you. And something, it doesn't
Yep.
matter if it's a going after a job or going after a study or a fancy title or degree or whatever you want to call it. You're always going after the thing outside thinking that it's going to bring you the joy and it's going to bring you to this completion, this feeling of like, oh, now I have it and now I can sit and do nothing, or like just, but no, it never ends because none of the stuff outside, whatever that is, material or non-material or possession or whatever it is not going to bring you joy. That's the bottom line. And being programmed into believing that, and I kind of like it because you see the one side of the story when they're looking at that, you laughing, they were probably embarrassed and thinking this person, it's cuckoo banana pants, like you like to say. You know what I mean? We're talking about serious business here, and she's sitting there and laughing about this whole thing. But then the game changes when you look at it from the other lens and you're seeing it differently, and you're having so much fun. So it is kind of strange when things change around. It not only strange, but it could be even upsetting to some people when the game changes and you see things differently. And this is this where being present kind of helps of what you were talking about earlier. When you're present in the moment, not judging it, not putting labels to it, just experiencing the moment, that could be enough to give you that aha moment or perspective or different view of things. But then again, this isn't something that I like to impound on people or tell them how it is. I'm just sharing an experience. So hopefully, if somebody is open to, um, you know, experience that, that'll bring him joy, or that'll bring him to that aha moment, whatever that is.
Speaking of experience, I don't see it. My daughter is texting me and asking me if I can look for her wallet, which is why I jumped off real quick. But I'm back, and yeah, exactly. We all have our own perspective and how we see things, and I totally get it. But given the fact that we're looking at a world that more people than not are unconscious, I do think that we have a responsibility to share a different perspective. One being, you don't have to be stressed out, hot mess express in order to be worthy or to achieve success, because I have a whole hell of a lot of fun and I am quite content with how my life is going.
Yeah, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, you know. And this brings me on about something that I also appreciate. Another philosopher, Alan Watts, he was talking about on one of his lectures that I listened about how dancing, and it's not about, who's, going to move faster from the one side of the stage to the other side of the stage. It's the experience that you're having in between when you caught up on that moment of dancing, or experience that body movement when there's no thought, there's no idea, there's nothing going anywhere. Because, and the same about like music. There's no
Yeah.
there's no idea behind the music, who's gonna make the faster song or whatever. Music, it is what it is. It's like expression of what is. So
You know what, though? I want to say something. Going back to this idea of being stressed out to achieve or to
mhm.
produce, right? There are artists that can make a massive impact because they are just creating music because that is what they're called to do. They're in flow. Then there are artists who make music with an expectation that it be received by somebody, that it produces a certain achievement.
Yeah, some
You
kind
can
of
feel the
outcome.
difference.
Yeah, either money or fame or whatever. Yeah,
You can feel the difference. You absolutely
hundred
feel the
percent,
difference, and that's why
100%.
that's yeah, and that's why, like, even yesterday I was asked to be on a podcast. I didn't prepare for it, and then the individual asked me for a bio, and I said, "Well, I'm not going to give you a bio because I'm not called to give you a bio. I don't know who I am, and I don't know what I'm going to show up and share." Like, that's true. And you know why? Because I don't. And I was sharing with this individual because at the end, after we were done recording, they were like, "Well, I really had the hope, like, I was hoping that you would give the audience a tangible tool that they can take away." You know what the tool is, guys? The one tool, this tool that will open up new worlds of possibility. The one tool, curiosity. Stop assuming you know anything and just remain curious. And in that moment, things unfold beautifully. The moment we think we need to know something, that we need to create something, that our show needs to look a certain way, that I need to deliver a specific message, that I need to whatever, right? I've just boxed myself into that experience, and that keeps me separated, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I love where our show goes, because that's why we do it for no particular reason. Where you can get off the camera and go check for a wallet and come back, and it's all real time, people.
Well, but that's real life, and that's again, it's really easy, even for me, to work to present a certain way, right? But that doesn't serve me because now I'm compartmentalizing my life. I'm not being true to myself in a given moment. So I'm really disconnected from myself. It doesn't serve the individuals that source energy puts in front of me that need to have the experience of us being in this experience together, whatever that is. And again, if I label it, I've just limited it and made an assumption. And so just being able to show up and let things unfold without having this expectation is really, really, that's fundamentally how I work to show up in my whole life. And that feels really disconnected for a lot of people. And to your point, people think I'm cuckoo banana pants. I've been called unprofessional, like you name it. But like my job isn't to concern myself with how other people perceive my experience. My job is just to honor my experience in this moment, and in that, trust that whoever it's meant to impact it will.
Yeah, but for some people, it might come in as a trap because then you think that you're thinking selfishly. If you think out of ego, you're like, "Well, I'm only thinking about myself. I care. I don't care about the other people. I just care about how I feel. Like other people perceive me differently or whatnot." And that's also a trap that it can present itself from the thinking mind that come up because you know damn well that if you're not 100%, if your cup doesn't overflow, how can you be there for people? You know what I mean? Yeah,
But if I focus on how other people think of me, I'm an ego. Like
I know.
I don't
I
concern
know.
myself with
I've
it. One way or the
Yeah, I've
other.
been there, and sometimes I still do it. Sometimes that pops up, and
Yeah.
it's like, ooh, I like to take credit for that, or ooh, I like to be this, or whatever, and or oh, why are they seeing me this way, or am I selfish right now, or you know what I mean? That's the reason I brought it up because it happens, and it happens.
So all of
Yep, you know. Because like last episode, we had a conversation, and you're like, "Yeah, it happens to everyone." Now I'm convinced. You know what I mean? Like nobody's perfect, and yeah, we're all having this human experience. That's the
a
that
hundred
that's the
percent.
that's the bottom line. Yep. So where did your energy go?
I'm actually quite peaceful. I'm just sitting in this space of just
Yeah, because for for
receiving.
for
I
for a
don't know.
moment, I was like, "Let's get up and jump in the front of the cameras."
Do it. Do it. I was all down to dance. I mean, I still have um the Kendrick Lamar concert playing in the background of my head because it just was so good. Oh my god, it was ugh. So I can dance. I can, but again, like to what I was saying earlier, I am a roller coaster of emotional experience in this current present moment. Although right now I feel really peaceful. So I'm just sitting in the peace. I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah, sometimes just being present, it's good enough, and it's
Well, also that shitty ass headache that comes from a really hardcore cry is kicking in, and I'm like, there's not enough coffee right now that's gonna get rid of this, so I need to pop something because I'm all set with having a headache. Um, but yeah, I mean, if I'm keeping it real, I'm like, ugh.
well, but at least you're doing something with the water and hydrating a lot because going back to being an energetic being, we're having all those energies that are moving through our bodies and they're transforming, going in different directions and being able to balance. Oh, there you go. By all means, feel comfortable. Kick the monitor off.
Listen, I am, but that didn't feel good on my toe. It did not like that.
uh,
I am comfortable. I'm very comfortable. And it's so interesting because I just had somebody reach out to me. This is two people in the last 2 days. And, you know, I give people permission until they give themselves permission. And that's the reality. We've been so conditioned that we feel guilt over making choices based on, the experiences, what we brought up. And so when people reach out to me, and I've had two people reach out to me to give them permission to take time off of work because they emotionally don't have the capacity to show up without feeling guilty. And I just got one of those texts, and I just keep thinking about when I operated from that space of just going along to get along because that's what I needed to do. And you guys do not. Your responsibility is, and whether people say this is ego or not, to do what feels right for you in the present moment. Because in that present moment of doing what feels good, nurturing, supportive, yummy for you don't concern yourself with what other people are doing for themselves. And that is love. That really is love. It's self-love, and it feels just so empowering and freeing, and to what I was just sharing with Yanko, peaceful.
Yeah. This is what I want to wish to all of our audience or viewers, to experience that internal peace when nothing can move you, where you're just hopeful and complete in whatever happens. It just happens, or it's happening for somebody's benefit, because nothing happens for no reason. There's a reason behind everything. um, but yeah,
I love
thanks
it.
for sharing that story.
Which
The
story?
text,
About my peoples? About the
the
peoples?
text.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, again, guys, we are living in uh a society where what is pervasive is health issues, addiction, um separation from self, disconnection from their spirit. And the only way to start to shift what we are witnessing is to give yourself permission to do things differently, right? To do it differently. And I continuously say this to my clients over and over because, again, even I'm a product of habit. So our habit is up. I don't feel good, but I got to go to work because that's a responsible thing to do, right? Um, the reality is if we continue to do the same thing over and over again, it's a definition of insanity because you're not going to get a different result, but you keep
Yep.
expecting a different
Yep.
result. And so being able to do the thing over differently, and then hopefully having somebody in your life, just one other person, if you need it, to give you permission not to feel guilty for doing it differently, because guilt will bring you right back into a really shitty feeling, which then will make you want to lean back into the habit rather than stay doing the thing that's different.
Yep. And I think we talked about this before in other episodes where, you.
We talk about the same thing
I,
all the time. It
I
just shows
know,
up
but
in
it
different.
reminds me of that because it went right back when I was thinking about working out. Getting in that journey and surrounding myself with people that have that experience, so they can support me and support the journey that I'm going. That they can share their journeys and explain, like, why leg day it's important and other things like that, and you can relate to. I know. Um, and being in that situation, it helps a lot. So any kind of change you're making in your life, surrounding yourself with the people that support you and bring you to the goal, it's wonderful because they can only bring you benefit, share their experiences, bring um, value that you're not going to find in books and other things like that. It's always good, and that's why I said we talked about it, because sometimes you just have to change your surrounding. You have to change the people that are
100%.
around you, or find somebody that'll support your interest, hobbies, or whatever you're going through. And that might even be other things that might show up in life that you have to change about yourself. But the truth is, when you have that experience, you know deep down inside that there's something wrong and something has to get changed, because you already experienced that yumminess and that joy, or whatever you experience in that moment, that exists, because before that you didn't know that existed. And once you had that experience, now it's tangible. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Well, so there's two things to that, right? When I Was single. I got very clear because I worked out for many years, but I was with a partner who didn't work out, and I didn't really have a huge community at the time who worked out. And so I was very clear that the individual that I shared my life with worked out. And in that, I met Nana, who is very, very big about working out, and we give each other the gift of pushing each other with love, not with judgment. And that's a really beautiful thing because there's no expectation of an outcome, but there is a belief that the individual can do it differently or grow in the experience. And then so we push each other through that loving experience. And that's the other thing, people don't realize, even our loved ones, they love us, right? Every single person in this world has love in them, even sociopaths. I just finished a book where I was reading about an enlightened gentleman who was put in a Russian cell with two individuals who were murderers. And not only murderers, I mean, these individuals tortured their victims, ripped apart their, like, just horrendous experiences. And this enlightened being, this loving being, was able to see the love in them. And because he responded to them in love, eventually, one, these individuals didn't kill him, which is what the Russian guards had hoped would happen. And two, they had a new experience. So I do want to say everybody is loved because we really are. And the minute we lose sight of that, it's easy to judge. But that's why I always know that deep down, love is the driving force for this experience. But two, in that love sometimes presents fear. And so if we grew up in a family where you didn't feel your feelings or didn't talk about experiences you had that wounded you or whatever, it's not that they don't want to support you, they don't have the tools. So it's your responsibility, if you don't like the way things are unfolding, to go find people with the tools. To Yanko's point, if you want to lose weight, find somebody who's gone through the experience. If you want to heal from addiction, find somebody who's gone through the experience. If you want to break patterns of belief, find somebody who's gone through the experience, and associate yourself with those people, because then you're going to feel more supported and not so alone on this journey of learning more deeply about yourself. Otherwise, we make up this story that we're separated, and most people quit the journey, or they stop believing that they can have a new experience because they have made up in their mind that they're alone in their experience.
Yeah, and also separating their wins and your wins. When you start going on the journey
Yes.
like that, and they share their experiences with you, and you feel that vibration, that wonderful win. They're like, "Yeah, I did it," and then you want to do it, and that motivates you to get to the next step. And when you get to that next step, they also, support you, and you go, you did it, and it comes around and it goes around, and you feel supported and you celebrate your wins, and it's all, yeah.
Yeah. And there is always somebody, listen, fly that perceived freak flag. Guys, like, I was on a podcast yesterday, and this individual prior to the podcast was telling me that they have to get clear on their brand, they have to do this branding, blah blah. I don't know what my brand is, guys. You know what? But I love skulls, so I rock my skulls. I swear like the trucker, so I'm probably gonna wear a shirt that says "Start No Shit" on it. I like to work out, so I'm probably gonna go for, like, right, like, fly whatever feels good for you, and you will find the people who are like, that feels good for you. And I mean, I work with people who are into kink, into fetish, into whatever. I couldn't care less. Is that making you happy? Do you, boo, because you will find people who will love that and honor that and lift you up in that
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. Same thing. I work with somebody, and they feel like they have to explain themselves, and I said, you don't have to. Like, this is a judgment free zone. You do
Yeah.
you. Like, you know what I mean. If you celebrate your wins, you know what I mean. It's like you don't
Yeah,
have to
it's so
tell me, oh, I'm doing this because of that and this and that and everything. Like it's okay, it brings you joy. That's fine, you know.
exactly. And I mean, it's just again, this experience is it's an experience.
Yeah. See,
It's an
when you're at that
experience.
moment where you can't find words to describe something, that's where you're supposed to be.
I know. I know.
It is just you sit and I didn't understood that before when people were telling stories about yogis and enlightened people and how people are expecting something to happen and they're like, oh, we're gonna meet this guru with this other guru and see who's the better guru because everyone deep down inside wanted their guru to be the best guru or whatever the teacher that takes them into where supposed to go and and they
Yeah.
get him, and the guys sit and they start staring each other, and they stare each other. They don't say anything, and then they smile. They get up, and that's it. There's nothing. There's nothing to talk about.
There's nothing to, it's so true. There's nothing to talk
you know,
about.
it's and then everyone is disappointed. They still try to figure out who's the better guru. But love recognizes love, and there's nothing that you need to do or say or be or whatever that is in that moment.
Oh my god, yeah. It's so ugh, it's so delicious.
I know, and I love that kind of stories too. Just
Mhm.
yeah,
And, again, one could say it's ego, but like I am very particular about who I surround myself with energetically. Like, not e- every day I'm here to serve. So if you enter my presence, I'm going to love you. But the people that I purposefully encounter are people who choose love. I mean, they're imperfect. We're messy. I absolutely, yo, I popped off on this guy the other day. Oh, I'm going to end this with a beautiful miracle. This is God's work at its finest. No joke. I was in the car with my two beautiful girls, bringing them to their dads. This nice person let us turn right into a street. There was a car right here and car here. I mean, it was, and all of a sudden, this young kid comes flying. I mean, flying, and literally, I mean, it was divine that I didn't kill this person. That, like, literally, you could not have scripted the way he moved, like, in perfect to go choo choo and come out of that experience. And of course, I turned around and said, "You're a fucking dick," and it was because I was so shocked. With that, I'm like, "Oh my god, thank you so much love, so much for saving this gentleman," because I'm in a huge truck, he's in a little car, like, we would have been good. It was this individual, but I was just like, "Okay, not the response I want to have, but thank you so much for making sure that that gentleman is good, my babies are good." And that is the messy choosing love, but still being a messy human and having a response to what's unfolding. So, and I choose to be around people who are messy like that, who still have a little bit of ghetto grit in them, but continue to come back to choosing to send that individual love.
Nothing's wrong with that. And I was thinking about what you're saying before you start telling that story. That even if you think you're not in service, you're in service.
Oh,
If you're
100%.
here and you're bad to somebody or do something, you're still doing service because you
Yep.
don't know what they're getting out of that situation. You're doing them a favor for what I know. Like you don't know, it could be tough love or whatever, but you cannot not do service. So it's kind of like I'm not going to do anything and you said, but you're still doing. I mean, there's happening that's happening. You're not doing it. You don't have to do anything. It's the happening. I mean, the body will be breathing. Things are going to be happening, and you can be thinking, "Wow, am I doing service? Am I not doing service?" It's one big happening. It's doing. Things are happening.
Yeah. Oh, the joy of being. All right, guys, with that, we are wrapping up episode 63,
There you
4.
go. We'll do 4 next week. And
And until next time, thank you all for listening. Please subscribe, contribute. You can even comment. You guys are weird. I mean, I would love that because I like being weird. But anyway, and we'll see you on the flip side next week for no particular reason. And I will be 45 years old because my birthday's
all
today. Great.
right. All right. Well, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. And we'll hope to get you on the flip side, like Kerri said.
Peace and chicken grease.